Americans are now being warned in multiple cities as the surge of illegal immigrants continues to push through to multiple regions right here in the country. States like California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, and Washington. They're all on the list of states that continually accept migrants, even though locals in many cities and counties are now crying foul as they continue to be displaced in exchange for the new people that are coming in. The worst part is that they're seeing homeless veterans being pushed onto the streets to make space. Some people who have full-time jobs and are struggling to keep a roof over their heads, they're not so happy with what's happening in the United States. Back in April 10th, 2023, Senator Tim Scott, who's a Republican, he reintroduced a bill together with multiple other colleagues that includes Senators Ted Cruz, Chuck Grassley, and John Boozman, just to name a few. What's this bill? Well, the bill is actually called Stop Dangerous Sanctuary Cities Act, and it's meant to do exactly what it says. So basically, the senators, they argued back then that the sanctuary cities have emboldened criminals and were a huge threat to Americans across the nation. But they also said that it was unfair for taxing Americans to continue to pay for the policies that basically let anyone inside their jurisdiction. Don't let the name of the bill fool you guys. It is actually legal immigration that they say that they're agreeing with. So it's basically kind of saying that the immigrations or the immigrants they're welcome to move to the United States if they're willing to go through the legal process and not cut corners in order to enter our country. Now, for anyone who's tried to immigrate here to the United States, you should know that it's a very lengthy process, one that's necessary in order to maintain the safety of the country and, of course, its people. All I ask before we go any further into this, guys, is if you just take a second and drop a like for the video. I want to also thank you guys for always sharing these videos. It really means a lot to me. I totally appreciate that. Now, look at this map here. So this map is very crucial to what we're experiencing right now because it represents sanctuary cities, states, even counties. Those in red actually have policies in place that are against sanctuary cities. So they're not being counted, but almost everything else is fair game. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them with you, but let's just talk about a few that kind of stand out a little bit, right? So starting with Chicago. Chicago prides itself in being a sanctuary city, even going against what former President Donald Trump wanted during his term. Former Chicago Mayor Raheem Emanuel said back in 2016 that Chicago will always be a sanctuary city. If we fast forward to 2024, and even Democrats within the city are saying that, hey, enough is enough. Cata Truss, a Chicago Democrat, is saying that their city's sanctuary status has to be removed as this entire crisis is, according to her, it's squeezing community resources. She's a government employee and she's frustrated because they don't have the money to take care of the Americans that are there. So what makes Chicago think that they have the money to take care of all of these illegal immigrants that are coming in? She also said that the best path forward, and she even tried talking to elected officials in the city, to talk about it. Now, you would think that elected officials would have time for their constituents, right? Well, she tried and she said that no one was willing to talk. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. This isn't a Democratic or Republican issue, okay? This is an issue that America is facing as a nation. But Chicago's current Mayor Brandon Johnson, he did send a message to the people who think that they're doing a bad job when it comes to managing the situation over there. So he says that the people may actually question his style, but what they should never question is his leadership. Now, take that as you will, guys. Now, we're not going to stray too far away from Chicago because back in October last year, a poll showed that most residents in the city would prefer to end their sanctuary status. Now, out of that survey, 46% said no to a sanctuary city. 39% said that the city should remain one, and 14% were just completely unsure. Now, again, this is just Chicago, folks. We've got hundreds of cities and counties that have the exact same policies in place. So let's go ahead and fly on over to Boston, Massachusetts, where residents right now are just straight up pissed at their government for closing down a community recreation center to shelter migrants. Hundreds of people and athletic clubs who frequently use the Melina A. Cass recreational complex, they were forced out because the state announced that they're going to be turning it into a temporary safety net site. Now, many residents are angry about it, especially since no specific date was provided as to when this temporary site would be returned to what was, especially as it also helped give senior citizens a second home where they could also socialize. Now, the outlook is for it to be returned to normal sometime around June 2024, but that's just an estimate, and promises typically are made to be broken.
The call to open a temporary shelter in Roxbury was both critical and necessary. This was the situation inside Logan Airport today, where migrant families waited to take taxis to shelters for the day. Unable to stay there overnight, many returned to the airport, some sleeping there for nights. Now, the Cass Recreation Center in Roxbury will temporarily accommodate migrant families starting tomorrow through May. It will be one of multiple of what the state calls safety net sites across Massachusetts.
Really what needs to happen is Congress needs to act, and I've said that time and time again. They have sitting on their desk right now legislation that would address this issue, that would fix the border, that would provide funding to states like Massachusetts that are having to bear the cost of all this. And Congress, in particular, the House, needs to step up and act and stop playing games.
Some local residents said that it was actually great that some help was being provided for illegal immigrants. But what about the Americans that live here? What about homeless veterans that continue to be pushed aside for migrants? What about those who are on Social Security, SSI, and SSDI? These people are saying that their communities are getting messed up right now, and those who are in charge, they're not doing a very good job for working for the American people. And the same could be said for Colorado. As one city there, Lakewood, they're saying outright that they're not willing to become a sanctuary city. In fact, hundreds of residents attended an emergency community meeting where they said that the city officials, they want to change the city status, something that they highly oppose. So get this, guys. The number of people that went to the meeting, it was so huge that some of them overflowed into the parking lot. So far, Lakewood has yet to announce becoming a sanctuary city, probably because they saw just how far back that they were going to be pushed by the people who actually live there. And I'm guessing that we're bound to see even more of that, especially as more residents from different parts of the country are starting to realize exactly what's happening. Which brings me to a recurring concern for many Americans. It's said that some cities and counties are struggling, not just with the crisis, but with schools who have classes that continue to just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so that puts a bigger strain on the teachers over there. There are supposedly hospitals across the country where patients are out in the hallway waiting to be attended to. But so far, we've seen sanctuary cities and states give out millions of taxpayer dollars to illegal immigrants. Chicago has shelled out at least $156 million. Denver has handed out about $40 million. And New York with a whopping $2 billion, with $12 billion more projected if things don't change at all. Now, this has a lot of Americans besides themselves, basically because they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick yet again. It actually has some of them going on rants where they pretty much cuss out the system because they're saying that it treats illegal immigrants way better than homeless veterans who actually gave their lives to protect this country. But I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. The floor is completely open. What do you guys make of all this? Just know that I'm gonna be here with you guys every single day of the week to keep you guys informed on whatever is happening around us that actually matters to us. So if you made it this far, definitely hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for sharing these videos, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.